Altitude training has been in the spotlight since the 1968 Mexico Olympics, where its effect on athletic performance would manifest through sub-record times on long-distance events, while sprint, jump, vault and throw times were smashed all over the field, largely due to lower atmospheric pressure. So why the good sprint times and bad distance times? Let's talk about hypoxia, which is the adaptation made to maintain homeostasis when exposed to high altitude. Hypoxia is a state of low oxygen existing in a cell. It is through sensed lack of oxygen that the transcription of hypoxic inducible factor 1A, or HIF1A, then HIF1B occurs, regulating oxygen delivery and maintaining homeostasis as illustrated to the right here. HIF1A is constantly present and transcripted when oxygen sensors detect a lack of oxygen in the bloodstream. Under normal conditions, referred to as normoxia, it is degraded as illustrated to the left. To the left of this illustration, we see the generic products of HIF1 transcription in response to hypoxia, which include red blood cell production, repair and formation of new blood vessels, and glucose mobilization. A major role of HIF1A is to establish at any oxygen concentration the optimal balance between glycolytic and oxidative metabolism that maximizes ATP or energy production without increasing reactive oxygen species levels and oxidative damage to cells. Due to the decreased presence of oxygen, glycolysis is augmented through increased production of glucose transport proteins. Blood glucose sources are used very quickly in fueling the high recruitment of type 2A fast-twitch muscle fibers that occurs with exercise of an aerobic nature in hypoxia. There is a greater stimulus to mitochondria, higher demand for ATP, higher rate of fat and glucose burning, more damage to myofibrils, and hence a higher rate and extended duration of post-exercise calorie burn in the repair process when return to normoxia is made. So, just briefly summarizing, hypoxia stimulates EPO production, creating reticulocytes, which mature into fully functional red blood cells after around 1 day. Hypoxia stimulates vascular endothelial growth factor 1, or VEGF1, and the repair and formation of blood vessels whilst enhancing glucose mobilization for quick energy production. As glucose metabolism is enhanced, so is fat metabolism, and of further benefit is the inhibition of adipogenesis, which is the regeneration of fat cells, which occurs for 6 to 12 hours after hypoxic exposure. Okay, I've come to realize that the common belief regarding altitude training, or more correctly hypoxic training, is that of the live high, train low approach, and that achieving a raise in hematocrit is only possible by 8 to 12 hours exposure to altitude daily. Well, here are the sheets from the 2 blood tests I had in January 2012. Approximately 4 weeks apart, in which I was trialling various methods of exposure whilst getting on average 3 hours a day. Hematocrit gained 6.5% to 49% and the RBC gained 6.1% to 5.2%. That's a significant increase in anyone's books, especially when the Anti-Doping Commission will start to ask questions when you are much above 50% hematocrit. So hypoxic training turns this into this, and correctly integrated it into the right training plan into this. Before you go booking an expensive stay at one of the training camps in Kenya or Ethiopia, or even a trip to Boulder, let's look into the science of hypoxia some more and discover some advantages that living at sea level and integrating hypoxic training has over constant environmental exposure. Okay, hang in with me as we learn about some of the hormonal factors affected by hypoxic exercise. These next 2 slides are from a study which was conducted with 4 control groups. 2 that exercised at their anaerobic threshold, and 2 that exercised at approximately 25% less than this level for 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week, for 6 weeks on a stationary bike at the simulated altitude of 3,850 meters. The session times were of varying length, and the findings showed a significant rise in EPO levels occurred 1 hour after a 30-minute hypoxic session that was, however, not sustained 2 hours after termination of the initial stimulus. But a full hour hypoxic session resulted in greater levels of EPO production, with the increase in production being sustained 2 hours after termination of the stimulus. With daily exposure, serum levels remained elevated at 6 and 20 days, with the development of polycythemia being noted. Polycythemia is an overproduction of red blood cells. The type relevant here is secondary polycythemia and is a byproduct of altitude acclimatization. These scientists concluded that EPO production, can be stimulated in as little as 30 minutes of hypoxic exposure. It's clear to see that the high-intensity hypoxic training elicited the largest increases in HIF1A, PFK, myoglobin, and VEGF1, all of which play important roles in meeting increased oxygen circulation and energy production demand. The same group that exercised high intensity in hypoxia showed the greatest increase in mitochondria volume density and length density of capillaries, as shown in this chart. An increase in mitochondria and capillary density is a good thing that will result in better performance, but they aren't the only things enhanced by hypoxic training. Applied to a group of subjects post-ACL reconstructive surgery, findings showed hypoxic resistance training significantly affected levels of hormonal and other factors vital to protein synthesis, growth, and muscle repair. Added to the enhanced EPO production and vascular repair, it's easy to see why I used the iconic Superman symbol in the background. There is an article on my website, bisif.com.au, entitled Resistance Training in Hypoxia, which goes into a bit more detail regarding the factors listed here, but just quickly, I'll mention another study in it which showed two groups working to the same criteria with the goal of determining hypoxia's usefulness in achieving muscular hypertrophy. One group was in normoxia, the other in hypoxia. Both increased cross-sectional area of the thigh, with lower limb exercise volume increasing significantly across both groups, with the normoxic group showing 101.1% increase and the hypoxic group an impressive 158.4% increase in output. The testosterone to cortisol ratio and effect on VEGF was incomparable and in favour of the hypoxic group, increasing the TC ratio to 62.5% and VEGF up 603.5%, while the normoxic group decreased VEGF 18.5% and had more elevated levels of cortisol at the TC ratio of 40.1%. The fast fatigue of slow twitch fibers and earlier recruitment to type 2A fast oxidative glycolytic muscle fibers is the secret of success in this process. Fantastic results can be harvested across any application, whether it be highly effective strength training with less weight, onset of fast and good results from those tedious rehab exercises, or my favourite, enhanced muscular endurance through quick fatigue of slow twitch fibers, recruitment of fast twitch fibers that normally wouldn't occur until the end of an endurance set, if at all, and therefore preparing the machine to be used harder and faster for longer. That might sound pretty technical, and a lot of it you would likely have never heard before in regards to altitude training, as the old live high, train low studies only mention blood changes and are all done via environmental exposure. Well, largely all done via environmental exposure, that is. In recent times, elite athletes have flocked to places of high altitude, including living part of the year in cities such as Boulder and Utah, and opting to do more as the Romans do, and enjoying a stay at one of the camps in Kenya or Ethiopia, where they will improve their running as they partake in the dedicated training regime the best commit to. This is the life. Going on a training holiday, seeing different parts of the world and immersing yourself in different training methods. However, it is expensive and not convenient for everyone who can only swing a limited amount of time off each year. But don't despair, as the benefits that Africans enjoy is largely from their machine-like training regime and partly of the product of being born at altitude for generations and continuing to live there throughout their life. We too can emulate similar results through regular hypoxic training and dedication to training and diet without the need to relocate. So now, what about sleeping at altitude? Everyone does it. All the papers are on it. It must be the best way to do it, right? Wrong. Pictured here is the legendary Alistair Brownlee. He is a client of a British company that sells and rents machines and offers hypoxic training also. Alistair is reported to have used their systems as part of his preparation for his magnificent performance at the London Olympics. A quick mention of altitude training is a common thing found in an interview with the best. However, the intricacies are never divulged. The truth is that hypoxia has a massive effect on your quality of sleep. Scientists have been able to determine that sleep is separated in cycles, with 5 parts, or 4 distinct stages of the cycle. As seen in this chart, parts 3 and 4 until recently were considered separately and as 2 parts to deep sleep, but have now been classified as 1 stage together. Each stage has a distinct brainwave pattern that elicits body and brain tissue regeneration as the stages increase and decrease in length on a rotational cycle. They have determined a full sleep cycle lasts for around 90 minutes, early cycles being made up mostly of deep sleep, while the cycles shift focus to REM light sleep as the length of the sleep period increases, until theoretically you wake naturally after 6, 7.5, or 9 hours sleep. We see here an illustration identifying the types of brain waves relating to sleep. First appearance in the cycle is beta. This is the normal waking state of high frequency, low voltage waves. Alpha occurs when we close our eyes and are in a relaxed state. They make several appearances in the sleep cycle and from different areas of the brain each time. Alpha waves are those which occur during the rapid eye movement parts of the sleep cycle, when various aspects of brain function are regenerated. Interestingly, muscle atonia will occur in people with healthy sleep where the motor units are not stimulated, hindering them from acting out the visions they may see in this period where we dream. As we saw in the first cycle diagram, REM sleep is usually followed by a period of light sleep, remaining in alpha waves, where we can easily be awakened by the neighbour's dog or our bladder. Scientists believe the theta wave is like a connecting phase between deep sleep and the relaxed resting state in alpha waves. It is referred to as a hypnotic state. And the delta wave is the all-important slow frequency, high amplitude deep sleep wave where body tissues are regenerated. Several studies have been conducted at various altitudes from 2,000 to 7,260 meters, all showing the same thing regardless of the altitude. As altitude increased, so did sleep disturbances and reported difficulty of sleeping. Periodic breathing and bouts of apnea occurred, along with increased frequency of arousals from sleep, increased length of REM sleep, decreased periods of Part 3 and 4 deep sleep with decreased wave amplitude, and increased reports of tiredness. What we are looking at now is a chart reflecting blood oxygen saturation, or SpO2%, and pulse rate. It is a 1.5 hour section of hypoxic sleep I had on the night of February 23, 2012. The breaks in the line chart are when the alarm went off, as my SpO2% had fallen below the predetermined safety level. It further adds to the argument of reduced sleep quality, as I found I could only get 1, sometimes 2 full cycles in hypoxia, without waking up in the alpha wave. I'm a sound sleeper and always sleep with earplugs to ensure the best success of quality sleep, but during this period I experienced on average 4 occasions of wakefulness a night and some terrible effects on my training the next day. Besides that, what this shows is that as you enter sleep, your blood oxygen makes rapid drops after about 20 minutes of exposure on a fairly consistent basis. Without proper monitoring equipment, as I have, your blood oxygen will drop into levels that will cause oxidative damage to cells from reactive oxygen species, as the hypoxic reaction causes your heart to work hard to maintain homeostasis, which also is reflective in the heart rate spike which occurs around each major dip. Not an ideal situation for athletes to be getting their sleep in. This chart illustrates bouts of apnea in normoxia. As we see the blood oxygen saturation drop, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide in arterial blood rises, and as the bouts of apnea increase in duration, these values begin to cross over until a sustained period of apnea occurs requiring resuscitation. Not everyone is going to experience apneic events to this extreme, or possibly at all, but hypopnea is common, where overly shallow or slow breathing occurs and has similar effects on blood oxygen and carbon dioxide saturation, and hence quality of sleep. I'm quite certain this is news to you at this point, as this kind of information is not openly discussed in literature that promotes the live high, train low method, and in fact is kind of swept under the rug, as you could understand. When most of the companies that sell altitude training equipment focus on selling sleeping systems, and the results from being at a camp are from several factors that coincidentally work together as a result from a common sense approach to the machine-like training regime they embark on. There are many ways to skin the proverbial cat, and it is wrong to denounce one method whilst promoting another, when good results can be achieved from either if applied in the correct manner. However, it is right to reveal the facts, as you can already see that hypoxic training is far more complex than what is widely thought. Pictured here is BISF-sponsored athlete, multiple Thai boxing title holder, Marco Tentori, getting a bit of RBC building time in on one of the methods I strongly advocate, passive exposure. For athletes that train several times a day, it is critical to do the hypoxic training and its type at the right time, as more oxidative damage and fatigue can result as a consequence from getting it wrong. Hypoxic training isn't just for athletes though. It is highly beneficial in a weight loss program in connection with a properly matched diet and exercise program. This is when it gets really technical. Fatty tissue is called adipose tissue. It is named that as the proper name for fat cells is adipocytes. We are born with two types of adipose tissue, brown and white. Brown is termed baby fat and has the job of thermoregulation. It stops us and hibernating mammals from freezing to death as the shivering reflux does not occur. White is what we develop more of as we get older, as the brown dissipates into the white as we grow. Adipocytes store triglycerides for fuel, and if we accumulate an excess in fuel, more adipocytes are designated through the process adipogenesis. If, however, we burn more fuel, less adipocytes are regenerated, and with consistent training and diet, the outcome will be an individual with less adipose or fat tissue. Hypoxia inhibits the adipogenesis process for 6 to 12 hours post-hypoxic exercise. That's a big wow. That means production of new fat cells is halted for a very significant time span, and capitalizing on that by restoring the right fuels will accelerate fat loss as the body ravages the existing or remaining fat cells in the repair process in this time, which also is at an elevated rate due to fast twitch muscle fiber recruitment as we spoke of earlier. As the storage cells become smaller, the number of them will return to pre-obese levels with the natural process of programmed cell death. So again, with food like this, maths, science, and good old-fashioned hard work, someone can go from this to this, far quicker than conventional methods alone, and with continued training and adherence to their corrected diet, keep the weight off. And back to a more athletic application, hypoxic training will allow us to keep a better handle on our competition weight, trading fat for lean muscle whilst eating properly and still enjoying appropriate delicacies in moderation. So as we've discussed, hypoxic training has a wide variety of applications, with further studies being conducted on more medical applications, such as use in a diabetes management program for its blood sugar regulating effect and its effectiveness in reducing frequency and severity of asthmatic episodes. There are many methods with specific criteria in order to reach your training goal, whether it be fitness, strength, fat loss, or a super combination of hypoxia's many applications, and BISF has the know-how and experience to get you there. Things have come a long way since the effects of altitude on athletic performance were first seriously studied after the Mexico Olympics nearly half a century ago. Getting superior results from altitude or hypoxic training requires collaboration with a skilled and learned trainer like you will find at Burnett Superior Fitness. Run by one of WA's top 20 marathon runners, Shane Skinman Hansen, bring someone as dedicated to pursuing superior fitness as you are onto your team.